This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's do some fan questions. We got a ton. There's no way we can get to all of them. Joe Dangerously wants to know, man or woman, was there ever a wrestler that you've seen grow more as a performer than Trish?
Trish is one of those, man, if not in the top 5, top 1 or 2. Yeah.
It's pretty fascinating when you think about that too, because there's such a great list of guys who have evolved over the years, but I kind of agree. Trish has got to be near the top. I mean, when you first see her, you have a preconceived notion and you think, well, she's just going to be a valet. And I'm not going to name any other names, but there were a lot of other women who were really literally just a pretty face, and that's what they were there for. And man, she dug in and learned her craft and went from being not so great to holy shit, this is a really good match. And
yeah, and that's important. Like you said, not so great. Trish was not good when she first started.
No, she evolved. She got better.
Yeah. But she got great.
Yes.
And that's the thing about it is you look at her from where she started, it was like, okay, man, she's clueless. She doesn't know what to do here. She doesn't know what to do there, but she was coachable and she was able to apply everything that she was told, practically.
And her perseverance, really. I mean, I remember sometimes she would come out with this huge grin, but dude, she'd be covered in bruises where she had been beat up in some matches and she's still grinning, doing her thing. And that was not the era where you expected that. I mean, usually the girls look like the ladies look like they were ready for a photo shoot. And here's Trish. Yeah, she looks great and she's got her gear like she likes it and all that jazz, but she's beat up and she's still slinging that match around like nobody's business. Drew Landry wants to know, was Trish and Charlotte, the more recent version, of course, the women's version of Hogan Rock? I never really thought about that, but they're both in Canada. It's sort of, the best of what was and maybe the best of what is. I could see that comparison. I never thought of it, but interesting question from Drew.
Yeah, I could see that comparison as well.
Michael McClanahan says, what was your favorite storyline of Trish's to produce and why?
I think, probably the stuff, and even though I didn't get to produce as much of it, what I did get to work on was the whole triangle with Stephanie and Hunter and Trish. That was a lot of fun, just coming up with some of those ideas and being able to work with them was fun.
Who primarily had their fingerprints on that?
That was probably, again, I think that was probably Vince and Brian Gewirtz in a lot of respects. And I had, a little bit here and there, but not that much other than, hey, what if we did this?
Right.
So, yeah.
Speaking of hey, what ifs, Greg wants to know, did someone specifically push to have Trish and Lita main event that Raw?
I think they deserved it. I think that their work and the story is what pushed to make that happen. It was when you look at it, well, this is interesting and never done it. Let's try it. Let's see how it does. So that's them. That's on the talent at that point because they made it undeniable.
Francis says, whose idea was it to have the NFL promo with Trish and Shelton? Also, was she really naked in that promo? You don't have to answer that, but I don't remember this NFL promo with Trish and Shelton.
Either. I'm sorry.
I gotta throw that in my Google machine. No, wait, maybe not. Lupe Martinez says, I always felt that Trish versus Lita could have main evented a pay-per-view. Was that ever brought up or considered? Yeah, they did get a Raw. What about a pay-per-view?
Yeah, I think that more than anything, injuries and timing.
Yeah. Hot Rod says, what was Trish's reaction backstage after the now infamous Raw tag match from 2002 with her and Bradshaw versus Jackie Gata and Christopher Nowinski? This is regarded as being, if you recall, maybe one of the bigger stinkers from the era.
Oh, I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Lindsay says, does anyone ever feel like she's the one that got away? She wasn't a lifer and wasn't really around for a terribly long time, but she was one of the greatest. Do you think you could have done more to get her to stay full time?
Well, to answer that, no, I don't think that we could have done anything to get her to stay full time at that point in time. And as you say, Would we have loved to have had her longer? Absolutely. Does it feel like she was here a lot longer? Absolutely. You know, as I said to you, it felt like, well, Trish was here 12, 15 years, wasn't she? 6. And made a hell of an impact in that time. So kudos to her for being able to get out on her terms and her timing. Good for her. But had she stayed full time, I think that we definitely would have used her and she would have been on top and probably been the catalyst even more so into the women's revolution as it was.
Michael says, in your mind, where does Trish sit amongst all women's wrestlers of all time? And same question for all time Canadian talent.
You know, that's a tough question because you're looking at the pioneers like Fabulous Moolah and Mae Young, and then you look at people like Wendy Richter, who was one that brought it, you know, mainstream with Cyndi Lauper, and she was the choice to be along with Cyndi Lauper for that ride. Sensational Sherry is at the top of that list just for being Sherry. As far as in-ring talent and overall, you have to keep those other women in that conversation because they were the pioneers. And there had been a lot of greats. And I think that for the time that Trish was in the business, and when you apply that in her impact in the business, she'd definitely be in the top 10 of greatest of all time.
And when it comes to great Canadian female wrestlers, she's got to be top 3 with Natty and Gail Kim, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I think, to me, just my opinion, those are the top 3 greatest female Canadian wrestlers, right?
I don't think that Natty's Canadian.
Oh, okay. Well, I was counting it. Maybe I'm counting kayfabe.
Well, her mother's Canadian, but she was born in the U.S.
Okay. So it's her and Gail Kim?
Wasn't she?
I don't know. Fuck, you're the expert.
I don't know. Fuck.
Lenny, I mean, she's a goddamn heart. All right. Will you just let me have it? They're all from fucking Canada.
Rhino's, the Rhino's the kid.
Hey.
Yeah, she's a scrapper. Yeah, she's a dame and all, but yeah. He didn't have a boy. Yeah, that's fucking Rhino. Yeah, Nat. Yeah, that's her name. Yeah, my fucking granddaughter. Yeah.
I love that you, instead of going into him calling for Jim, now he's calling for Natty, and you referred to her as a dame because you think that's the old timey word he would have used for ladies.
Probably.
It's tremendous. That was good. That's the best thing you've done on this whole show.
Oh, well, at least I'm alive.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, it beats the alternative.
This is true.
Lenny Bakken says, did Trish have any backstage heat to Bruce's recollection, or was she always well liked and respected by everyone?
I'm not answering any more questions from Lenny Bakken.
Lenny Bakken hooks you up and takes care of your millions and millions of dollars. You ought to at least answer his damn question.
I know, but I do on text all the time.
What, will you just answer this one for the show?
Why didn't he call me offline and ask me this?
Because he's trying to help the show, which is more than you're doing.
That's not true.
I mean, at least you showed up this time.
Well, yeah. Even though you were late. Did Trish have any backstage heat? I think that Trish did have backstage heat. I think there was a little jealousy with Trish coming in.
Some of the other women, you mean? Or some of the guys that, hey, she's taking
Actually,
TV?
Both.
Yeah.
You know, on both sides, because she came in from conceivably outside, and now all of a sudden she's put into storylines and all these things. Well, who'd she ever beat? She did, and that's, again, another reason that when you look at Trish and you look at everything she did, she fought through all that. She fought through it and became, one with everybody in the business. So all that much more respect to her and kudos to her for that.
Let's talk, before I let you go, just about some of your favorite moments or memories working with Trish. Of course, you usually let me steer the ship, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I'm sure I feel strongly that saving money is important. If it's not something we worry about now, boy, we are really going to worry about it later. And I want to help you get out of debt faster and do it with cheaper monthly payments. I'm talking to you if you're in a 30-year loan. Now is the time to take years off of your loan. We're routinely helping our listeners cut 5, 10, even 15 years off their loan, and you can do this without perfect credit with no money out of pocket. You've just got to start at savewithconrad.com. Got a fun Trish story up your sleeve, right?
I think that the most fun that I had was the whole Trish and Mickie James scenario, because it was fun, and without giving too much backstory, if you've ever had a stalker.
Well, that's a random sentence.
Okay. Well, have you ever had a random stalker there, Connie? Okay. So anyway, I won't make you answer that because I already know the answer.
Yeah.
Then you can think of those moments where your heart just kind of goes into your stomach and you're like, oh no, man. And so that was fun to build. And Mickie and Trish were so into it and looking at it from all different angles that was a shitload of fun, man. And Trish bringing her dad around back in the day and just look, I think that if you were to build a roster of talent that you really enjoy being around and that are fun, passionate, and share the same ideals that you do and have an open mind, Trish is one of those that's kind of at the top of the list.
Yeah, hard to argue. I'm a big fan of all that she did. All we've ever heard is great complimentary things. It's pretty rare that you run across somebody who seems to be so universally loved in professional wrestling, but it does feel like that's where Trish is right now. Where we are right now is the end of the show. But before we wrap up, I do want to ask, was there ever any consideration to pairing her on screen with a quote unquote top guy? You know, a Steve Austin, a Rock, a John Cena, something like that.
Well, I mean, she was paired with Vince and she was paired with Hunter. So, I mean, they don't get more top than that. For a long term, I think the money was more in Trish being a competitor.
Yeah.
And doing what she did.
Well, what she did is make wrestling history. And we hope you guys have enjoyed our, I guess this is the culmination of maybe 4 or 5 times she's been scheduled on the show, but something happened and we weren't able to record, but it's finally happened. And next week it's finally going to happen. We're going to let you be in the hot seat. Ask Bruce anything. It's coming up next week. If you'd like to ask Bruce a question, find us on social media at Prichard Show. That's where you can find us on Twitter. We also want to mention that, we've got a YouTube channel, which is the best possible way to introduce your friends who are wrestling fans to our show. It's youtube.com/something to wrestle.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.